Hello everyone, it's Melissa Davis from By Mimi with Love, and welcome to my watercoloring world. This is lesson 4, and when we last met, we were laying the groundwork to do a caterpillar because we are practicing layering. And remember, the thing about watercolors are you can layer them as long as you let them dry between layers. Here's the caterpillar that they done in the book. And here is my caterpillar that I done in the book. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to finish our caterpillar. Now, I went ahead and put my first layer on. I'm using a burnt yellow, greens, 3 different greens to get some shading, a brown for the tree limb, and green again for the leaves. So I went ahead and put the first layer on so we would not have to wait for it to dry. Now I'm going to use a number 12 brush, and I'm going to go back in and add our green. Trying to get our green a little darker. Little green. A lot of watercolors, just like the ones I'm using today, this green and brown, will definitely turn muddy on you if you try to mix them before you allow them to completely dry. Need a little bit more. It looks yellow in my screen, but it is green. Okay. And now I'm going to let this dry, and then we will continue with our next color. And guys, while that is finishing up drying, we're going to go ahead and put our second coat on our branch. And I'm using a little of the brown. And right now I just want a whole second coat. And then I'll come in later for some shading and definition. So I'm just adding my second layer here. How's everyone doing with their watercoloring? Leave me a comment in the comments below and let me know how you're doing. If you need any help, if I need to cover something I'm not covering, if you're confused about something, let me know in the comments below. If you're enjoying this watercolor series, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please join my channel, hit that subscribe and like button. I'll appreciate it. Okay, we're going to let this dry just a minute, and then we're going to come back and do a little more. Okay, now I'm going to use my 0 brush, my really small brush, and I'm going to come in and get my yellow a little more vibrant. Let's pick up a little more of the color out of the pen, I think. There we go. This is the second layer on our stripes. It's kind of like a burnt yellow, but you can see that this yellow could easily turn muddy on us. Okay, we're getting our stripes done. Now I'm going to find me a darker brown, and I'm going to try to add just a little bit of texture in my branch, adding a little shading with a little bit darker brown. Just want my branch to look a little more realistic. So I'm coming in with a darker brown. Just putting some texture in my tree branch. Yeah, that looks much better. A little texture there. Okay. And by this time, well, it's not quite dry yet, so we've got just another minute or two on that. So let's go ahead while we're waiting and put a little bit of shading on these leaves. Go ahead and have that done. And that needs a little more definition. So I'm going to come in with a little bit darker green, so I can just separate these two leaves a little. There we go. You see a little more definition there. And then let's shade this one. And there we go. Checking to see if my little caterpillar is about dry, and he just about is. Let's give him a few more minutes and I'll be right back. Okay guys, and we're going to go in with one more layer of our green for some shading, and I'm going to pick up a darker green. So I can get a little bit of shading. That's too blue. So let's rinse that and try it again. We'll start with this dark. See? Yeah, that's better. So I just want a little bit. Oh. So we're just going to take, you saw how that puddled. So I'm going to take some paper towel and just pick it up. Just pick that up and try that again. I had way too much paint on my brush. That's much better. Just doing a little bit of shading on our caterpillar. Okay. And then we're going to come in with our small brush again, and we're going to put in our last color, our last layer on our yellow. Get our last layer of yellow on our little guy here. Now we're going to let that dry and add our black. Okay guys, now we're going to come back with our black, and behind each one of the yellow stripes we're going to do a black stripe. And I'm using my smallest brush to do this with. So just a little thin black stripe behind each yellow stripe. That's easy enough. Okay, and we're going to let this dry. And then we'll come in with our black dots, and I'll show you how to do that. Be right back. Okay guys, now we've got to do our little black dots. There's 3 little black dots in each one of the yellow stripes, as you can see. And what it suggests to do when you're having to do something like that is maybe just go for a black pen. And do your dots with a black pen. And there we go. We're getting there. Now, you can also use a black pen to do the feet instead of the paintbrush if you want. And all you're going to do is make little tiny squares with your black pen to make it look like the thousands of little legs that they have. And there you go. There is your caterpillar. I think he looks awesome. If you can't draw a caterpillar, remember, just draw a fat line and do the same practicing. The point is to figure out how to layer. So if you can't draw a caterpillar, draw a straight line. And keep practicing this, because this one really teaches you how to layer colors. Okay? We're going to do one more assignment with the layering. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something fun. We're going to do a flower. I've drawn a flower. Okay. This flower is in the book. Here's theirs. And here's mine. And we're going to do this flower. If you cannot draw a flower, that's okay. Just draw one circle in the middle and 5 round circles. Then a leaf, another leaf, and that way you can at least do the layering and do the practice, the lesson. So here is my flower. I'm going to erase some of these harsh lines. Sorry about that squeaky noise. Okay. I've erased the harsh lines. And now I have chosen 3 colors. You're going to want 3 colors, any color you want. I've chosen, you want the same shade, either a red group, a purple group, a blue group, whatever. But I've chosen 1, 2, 3. And I've already got them on my palette up here. And that is the colors that I am going to use for this flower. And I'm going to start with my lightest color first, which is this one. And I'm going to go ahead and put my first layer on my flower. When you're painting a flower, of course the darkest part is down near the center. So I'm moving my paint towards the center, as you can see. That's where I want my darker colors to be. And no 2 petals are ever alike, so you want them to look different in their shape and in their color. Okay, so we've got our first layer on, our flower. And while that's drying, let's go ahead and put our first layer on our leaves. And we're just going to go with this almost blue we made over here. We're just going to put the first layer on. Remember, nature isn't perfect, so your painting should not be either. Okay, we've got our first layer on our leaves. Alright, and now we're going to come in with our brown and our small 0 paintbrush. And then I'm just going to do a slight indication for those stems, very lightly. I do the same thing here. And up here. getting all of our, oops, look what I did. I went up into the leaf. So I'm just going to take that back off because it doesn't go there. Let me get a piece of towel. And we're just going to take that brown off. There we go. Fix that little boo-boo. Let's go back and get the rest of our brown. Okay. Now we've got our first layer on. Alright. Guys, you're going to use 2 more colors for your flowers. And we'll be back next week to see what you've done and see how your layering is coming. Make sure you keep practicing. The way to get really good at this is to practice over and over and over again. But this is our first layer, and we will finish this in our next meeting. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you guys so much. From Mimi's Watercoloring World, we'll be talking to you really soon. Bye-bye.